Hello and welcome to this month's Side Alpha Leadership. I'm your host, David Polikoff. On the video, on the computer, I have a really special guest, somebody that I met back in April at FDIC, Jon Vought, who is a firefighter in South Florida. Actually, he's an officer in South Florida, and he is runs the business for Rescue One CBD. So, Jon, tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we get into the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, Jon Vought, 15 years on the job down in South Florida. I got the rank of captain about a year ago, year and a half ago. Currently, I work in administration in the EMS division, which is, it's if anybody's ever read the book The Wisdom of the Bullfrog, this is my trying time. This is the part of my career that I have to do. I'm really excited to get back out on the street. Trying to do a good job while I'm in there. But I'm a second generation firefighter. My mom is a captain with the Palm Beach County Fire Department, and started Rescue One CBD about 4 years ago. 5 years ago, 2019. Jeez. And yeah, I have been trying my absolute hardest to get CBD into the hands of as many firefighters and first responders to help with sleep, their physical health, and their mental health as I can since then without having to fail a drug test. So that's what we do.
So before we go any further, Wisdom of the Bullfrog, awesome book. I know we've talked about it on the show before, but if you get a chance, pick it up. It's a really easy read. It's pretty thin. He has a lot of great ideas in him, and he talks about some of the ideas from the chapter and his thoughts and things like that. So, if you don't know, he's the same guy that wrote the book Making a Bed. So, awesome book. So get
Yeah.
that.
So the part where he has to build the frog float, that's where I'm
Right,
at right now. I gotta
right.
just own it, man. I gotta do my best.
And hey, you got to start somewhere, and you got to
That's
build
it.
up. So I know that your business is moving forward. It's taken off, but I want to go back to the beginning. What made you decide to go into this venture? It's kind of an odd venture for a firefighter. Most of the time they're trying to bring some type of rapid intervention tool or some type of a new class or whatever. But you went the route of mental health medical. So tell me, what was the beginning? What made you start to do it, and go from there?
It was a really trying time in my life. I had a foot surgery. I had a fusion in my left ankle, not from an injury on the job or anything. It was my I had a very deformed ankle, and over the years it became very painful. So they rebuilt my foot, did a great job with it, but I was in a ton of pain, and so I took opiates for um, man, I can't remember. I think it was close to 2 months now. I'm thinking it was about 2 months, but coming off of them was really bad. I wasn't able to sleep. I remember being up for just 24 hours at a time and taking small naps just from trying to. I don't know if those are withdrawal symptoms or if that was dependency or anything, but it was really hard to try to sleep after. So I couldn't find anything that was natural that would help correct my sleep issue. And if I brought it up to my fire department doc, the guy who is the doctor for our city, his response was, "Well, would you like Xanax or Ambien or Lunesta?" And I'm like, I got put into this position for medication. Why are we answering this medication problem question with more medication? So I started looking around for natural ways to handle this because I was like, this is just temporary. And I stumbled upon CBD, and our department didn't allow it. And even if they did, I couldn't find any clear information about firefighters and CBD because, from what I understood, there's always a small amount of THC in there, even when they claim that it's zero THC. So, um, total rabbit hole. But I went down brands of trying to figure this out. Um, I actually worked for another CBD company for a little while. I have a little bit of experience in e-commerce, just like personal, like messing around on Amazon and selling camping equipment and things like that. So I just did that for him at this company, got the ins and outs of the industry, learned how it was made, and I found a group of guys out in Colorado that could isolate CBD to the point where it's 0 parts per billion of THC, non-detectable amounts, and nobody else is doing it. And I was like, we can make this safe for firefighters. I want to get this into the hands of everybody, because when I took it and it fixed my sleep, uh, I realized that my story is not unique, and this is a game changer for people like me. So I just made it my mission to be kind of the gatekeeper for the fire service for CBD, because nobody else is doing it. And no business background or anything like that. I just I saw what it did for me, and I'm trying to get it out there for others. So it's been you're right. It is kind of a, I guess, contentious thing to take on. It's very taboo. Um, but I think most new ideas are, I'm sure when the SCBA was invented and guys were called, wusses for trying to wear it in smoke buildings, they're like, if you can't handle it, quit. I've gotten that rhetoric before where a lot of guys are out there saying, if sleep is such a problem, maybe you shouldn't be a fireman and things like that. So I totally understand. I'm trying to bring this new idea in. And honestly, it's been really, really well received the last few years. The first couple was tough, but I'm telling you, it's really starting to turn around. So it's going in the direction that I hoped it would go.
So when you had your injury, they were trying to, and you hear this. This is common. Let's give you more medicine to help with the medicine. My wife and I joke about that. She's a nurse, and we always, you see the medicine commercials come on TV, and it says, the side effects may be blah blah blah. And it's like, man, the side effects are worse than the medicine that you're taking to fix whatever's wrong with you. And then they say, oh, but then they'll prescribe a medicine to take care of the side effects.
Yeah.
So it's just this snowball of medicines that you get on. And full disclosure, my wife's a hospice nurse, so when they bring somebody onto their care, the amount of medicine that they're on is mind-boggling, because this medicine is for this, but then it gives you this side effect. So we give you this medicine for the side effect, and then you also have this, but it has this side effect. So we're going to give you this medicine. And Ambien is a dangerous thing to play with. I've talked to some Navy SEALs. I had Jason Garner on here
Mm.
not too long ago, last year, and he had talked about how he was taking Ambien because when he came back from Afghanistan, their adrenaline level was here, for the longest time, and he couldn't get it back down. And he said Ambien is just a rabbit hole, and you're chasing it, and it's not working. And he's got himself straightened out with clean living and things like that. So, for them to prescribe you Ambien to sleep, it doesn't give you the sleep that you need.
Right.
It's something to mask a symptom.
Right.
So let's talk about your ankle first with the pain and everything. Did you utilize the product for the pain, or did you utilize the product for sleep first?
Sleep. I was off of opiates by the time I discovered and started using CBD. I didn't, and to be fair, CBD wouldn't have touched my ankle pain. I
Okay.
mean, it's CBD by itself, without getting into the science yet. I'm sure we'll save time for that, but
Right.
CBD is not good for pain. It's good for inflammation. And
Right.
inflammation was only a small component of my pain. They rebuilt my ankle. I have 3 screws in there, and they shaved down some joints and broke a couple of joints, and they also cut my calf muscle where it meets my Achilles. So very extensive surgery. Um, it wasn't going to do that, and when I came off the opiates and I had such a hard time with sleep, that's what I was kind of trying to correct, was why, this unnatural thing that I did to my body caused me to be in a state of sleep deprivation. What can I do to get back to normal? And I didn't feel that medication was going to be the thing to bring me back to normal. I wanted homeostasis. Like, we keep hearing that word in medicine and in medic school, and just physiology wants to be in a state of homeostasis. And I didn't think medicine was going to bring me back there. So it was for sleep originally, and it worked. And I didn't even understand how it did work when I tried it for myself. I started to learn about it later, and I found out all the science behind it, which is extremely interesting. But I was going to try anything. I mean, I wasn't allowed to fail a drug test ironically, they would have allowed me to use Xanax or Ambien, and I can fail a drug test for that because I had a prescription, but I'm not allowed to fail a drug test for THC. So I had to really be rolling the dice with the CBD product, trying to assume that it was going to work without causing me to fail a drug test.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit offline. There's not all CBD products are created equal. So use caution for if you're trying to buy CBD, because some of it can still have trace amounts of THC, which can be picked up in your department's physical. Which is the reason why you're on the show, because you stand by your product, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. So when did you notice the effects that your sleep was becoming regular again?
It was about a week. I had to take it every day for about a week, and then I noticed the big change. And the one thing that I noticed, and I thought it was just me, and then I started, this company, and I started hearing everybody tell me was the very vivid dreams that come with use, and I didn't know if that was like I thought it was CBD that was causing this, and it turns out this is a phenomenon that they discovered with alcoholics, where when people stop drinking, like severe alcoholics that drink every single day and all day, when they finally stop drinking, they detox, all the dreams come back very vivid. It's a Dr. Matt Walker, the sleep physiologist. He talks about it as, you built up a REM debt, and when you finally pay it off, all the dreams come like tidal waving back in. So it was about a week, and I noticed I was dreaming very vividly, and I would sleep throughout the night. When I first started, I guess, detoxing or withdrawing, I don't know if it was detoxing, but because I was taking it daily, but it wasn't all day. But I had a dependence on it for sleep, and I would crave um, opiates at night like a lot, to the point where I'd break out into a sweat. And once I started having that feeling, I took CBD instead, and I would relax. I would try to get into bed and turn my brain off, and it helped. And then when I fell asleep, I noticed I was sleeping throughout the entire night, and then the dreams started coming back, and it was awesome. And I thought to myself, like, if this is that easy for me, why doesn't everybody use it? And it really comes down to drug testing and policy. Some policies specifically prohibit CBD use, which ours did at the time. I had to use it in like secret, like I was, like it was prohibition, like I was sneaking moonshine in or something, and it's so funny because you can't test for CBD. Well, you be correct. You could test for CBD. Panel drug tests like the DOT drug test that you get in the fire department and for DOT don't test for CBD. They test for THC and its metabolites. But you know, I was using it like it was a secret drug or something, and I couldn't tell anybody. And it's it's non-intoxicating, and it doesn't cause a failed drug test. So it was then when I realized that it's this easy. We need to bring this to every firefighter in the country, 100%.
So now the vivid dreams that you had, were they just nightmares, or just like dreams, like the floodgates opened up, like you said, and you're just like, bam?
Yeah, it's very intensely vivid. They're not nightmares. So, for example, if you have a dream that you're at a party, instead of just saying I had a dream where I was at a party, it would be like I was holding a cup. It was three-quarters of the way full. I put one ice cube in there. There was, condensation on the cup. It's like these details are so intricate, and they last, and the dreams last for a long time. And whereas dreams are usually fuzzy, these feel like they're very, very detailed. That's just a that's just anecdote. I mean, but it's common. We sell our product in all 50 states, and I get the same response consistently. And it actually ended up becoming such a frequently asked question that I would make content around it on our YouTube channel and on social media, so that when people saw, they kind of had the heads up, like, hey, if you were sleeping pretty crappy before, you're probably gonna have some pretty vivid dreams.
Yeah, I don't remember my dreams. I mean, just little teeny fragments. My wife, she'll say, hey, let me tell you about this dream I had. I'm like, all right, turn the TV off. Let me get in a good position because,
Go
she
settle in.
she remembers every detail about her dream.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, but yeah, I can't remember half the stuff I dream about. So I probably don't sleep well, even though it looks like I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. I had to get on CPAP because I was snoring,
Sleep
but
apnea.
yeah, well, just mild, but it they said, "Oh, you'll notice right away," and I was like, "I never noticed right away." But
Hmm.
I never had a problem sleeping with a mask on because we wear masks for a living, so it doesn't it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
So with now the product that you were taking, obviously they said no traces of THC, so I'm assuming that they were not lying because you still have your job. You didn't get any issue with that or any fallout from that.
No, so I didn't know I was off duty. So I was still on sick leave, and I had saved up sick leave for uh shit, it's probably 8 or 9 years, and I burned through all of it. I burned through 8 or 9 years worth of sick
Wow,
leave
wow,
because I physically couldn't sit upright. I had to lay flat, and my foot had to be elevated above my heart. There was so much swelling. The doctor told me when I was done with the surgery, said, "Okay, the swelling will go down in about 1 year." And
wow.
he said, outside of knee surgery, this is the worst orthopedic surgery you can have. My rehab specialist told me that this was the worst orthopedic surgery you could have, but I don't know. I didn't have knee surgery, so I can't compare it. However, um, that sick time allowed me to basically just roll the dice. If I had, what I do now is I actually send drug tests with every order, so guys and girls can see they're passing them. I would have thought I would have tested it then, but the stuff I took was just called CBD isolate, and a really good company. I throw them out there all the time. Medterra. They're super responsible. They own their own farm. They do a great job. They're a very pure product. Um, but if you go on their website and you look for information, them and Charlotte's Web is also an amazing product. They're the biggest CBD company in the world. But if you look on their website, about drug testing, basically says what they consider THC free is 0.02% THC by volume. So if you do the math on that, we only need 50 nanograms of THC to fail a drug test. There's more than 50 nanograms of THC in their bottle.
Right.
So, I mean, they're considering that THC free. Um, I don't, I don't know. Like, if I took that for too long, would I fail a drug test? I didn't want to test it. So,
No, 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 no.
yeah, that was it. I had a brief period where I tried it out while I was still not at work, and then I didn't take it anymore until we started our own company, and I started making it like for ourselves.
The and I guess because it's not regulated by the FDA, I assume people could say, "Oh, it's THC free," but when like you said, you get down into the math, it's really not. And that was one of the things that
Exactly.
when my wife opened up the package, because I bought her some when we were at FDIC, and she opened up, she goes, "Hey, there's a P test in here," and I said, "That's how strong he feels about his company and about his product," and so we
Absolutely.
we thought that was pretty cool. You and I had talked, so I knew that was in there. So obviously, you stumbled across this. It worked. You're like, wow, holy crap! I can't possibly be the only one. And I think once you start digging into the mental health and well being of first responders, you find that our sleep is just crap to begin with, especially if you're working 24/48 or 24/72 type shift, and you're at a busy house. You could be getting up 3-4 times after midnight, maybe getting 4 hours of broken sleep, and it takes a toll over time, not only from not having enough sleep, which is important, but it also starts to wear on your mental well-being. You start making some bad choices and self-medicating and things like that. Not to mention the mental health aspect of it, when we'll get into it, talking a little bit about the things that we see as first responders, and how that affects us as we move forward. So you decided, hey, this is good. Unfortunately, the percentages that they're stating is THC free possibly would not be good enough for our brothers and sisters in the fire service that get scrutinized at least once a year for a physical with a urine test.
Yeah.
So you moving forward, how did you hooked up with this company in Colorado, I guess that you work with. So let's talk a little bit about that. How you just started going down this path, and then we'll get into exactly how strong you feel about your product and how you've thrown away thousands of dollars worth of
Yeah.
product because it failed your standards. But let's talk about how
Yeah.
you got hooked up with this company and moving forward and going from there.
Yeah. The company I worked for first, this guy was a businessman. He had owned several supplement companies. This was 2018, and this was like right when CBD became federally legal. Before 2018, CBD from hemp was still considered marijuana. So there was like this big gold rush, this craze. Everybody wanted to jump into it. So this guy was a businessman. I knew how to build a basic website. So did my fiance, and she's really good at it. And she has an eye for design, so she helped me, and we worked for this guy for a little bit and started building stuff. And I didn't, I just, I was just an employee. And the brand wasn't anything special. It was just generic, medium to low quality CBD from some place, that we just, basically paid them to bottle everything up for us. But I did understand how the lab testing worked. I understood how tricky the industry is as far as the shadiness of people, how deals are done, and then like, man, just all the headaches that come with it, as far as like setting up a website and getting credit card processing and things like that. So all the boring stuff, right? I got all that under my belt. Um, I started my own, but I didn't think I could make it for firefighters. I just wanted to make a better product, and I started making it for like, you know, um, generic use and dogs, because it does great with arthritis. And my mom's dog had arthritis, and she used it on her pup, and it was like awesome. So I'm like, this stuff is so cool. I went down a lot of research, and this lab in Colorado has some of these scientists that make CBD for Europeans. To ship CBD over to Europe, it can't have even trace amounts of THC. And if this thing they get spot checked by customs, and they'll take a small sample and they'll test it either in the US or in the UK. And if it has any amount in there, they get shut down and they get a huge fine. Same thing in Japan. In Japan, you can go to jail for CBD with THC in it for years. So they are trusted with those two markets. And I was like, this is kind of a match made in heaven. So I took samples of their stuff, had them tested on my own. And I was super stoked. That happened way after the FDIC incident that you had mentioned where I had to throw away product. That is actually why I went with those guys, because we had that incident, which we can talk about. But the fact that I went around, and I mean, I went around and visited. Like, I don't do business with anybody that I don't see firsthand. So I learned how these facilities worked. I toured them firsthand. I asked questions. I want to see where they get their hemp from, how they mill it, the extraction process, and then their facility itself. Meet the people, look them in the eye, shake their hand, because I'm telling them, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but I'm telling them, like, look, man, I'm here representing the firefighters of the United States. I'm not here like buying from you and trying to maximize profit. There's only one brand that's really, really doing this for us. And if I'm going to take on that responsibility, you got to look me in the eye and make this for the men and women of the U.S. Fire Service. It's not a responsibility that I take lightly, and I need them to feel that and share that too. And honestly, there's just a lot of crappy places out there, man. I didn't really get a whole lot of. I wanted people to be excited about that when I would tell them, and I didn't get that a lot. And I finally went to one place in Colorado, and they were just fired up, And these guys don't grow hemp. They don't. They're scientists. They're a group of scientists that are really good at extracting specific cannabinoids. So they're really good at extracting CBD and CBG and CBN, and they're not in the business of selling it on websites or anything like that. They extract very, very large quantities of this stuff, and they are the best, and to my knowledge the only ones, which is why I don't really say who they are, uh, for extracting it to that level. And it was really tough to find these guys and to get that to match it up, to get that level of excitement from other people. But I've been to places around Colorado and Tennessee and Kentucky, and um, these guys they care, and they know what we're doing, and they absolutely love it. So and I try to visit them at least once a year, because I do want to kind of be a good ambassador for firefighters and first responders in the U.S. And it's just such a big job. If I didn't have them, I'd be losing sleep at night. You know what I mean?
Right. The so how long have you been using this particular company now?
Since the FDIC incident at I think that was 2021. So
Okay.
before that, uh, and I'll tell you about I'll tell the listeners about that one. But so before that, I had contracted with a hemp farm and extractor, and they were on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. Um, they would do everything. So they own the farm, they would extract, and they would send me stuff. Well, I had asked them to make the CBD isolate powder. They take hemp, they remove the CBD molecule out of there, and they refine it and refine it and refine it until it's at a powder. It's an isolate. So you're basically just getting a huge tub of just the CBD molecule. Well, I got to test that stuff. I have to make sure that's at zero THC. So um, I'm testing it. I'm waiting for the lab test to come back, but I was out of product, so I ordered a whole lot of it, bottled everything up, shipped it up to FDIC, not having a lab test yet, and I'm waiting for these guys to give me the results while I'm in Indy, and the lab test comes back and it's got THC in it, and it was 0.01%. And I call them and I'm like, call the lab and I go, hey, this is John with Rescue One CBD. Is this accurate? And they go, yeah, I'm the lab director. I can run it again for you. I still have some. I go, sure, run it again. And she's like, I'm looking at the chromatograph, like the test result. It's legit. Like, we didn't screw this up. But I'll run it again. And I go, okay. So they run it again. They go, yeah, that's accurate. And I call the company that was extracting, and they're like, the three words that I never ever want to hear or say to other people: it's probably fine. That's what they said. I'm like, well, I'm throwing this away. So I was up at FDIC with thousands of dollars of product, and didn't sell any of it. And looking back, it was 100% my fault, because I put trust in other people, and since then I have taken over the entire process from the lab where the scientists extract the stuff. I take it and I keep it, and I treat it like a controlled substance where there's a chain of custody. We start lab testing it at that point. So now we lab test a minimum of 3 times, but it's usually actually about 5 times, depending on how many products we use it in. But we test it that many times throughout the process to show that it's perfect. And I started, basically making batches way before FDIC starts to, get away from that problem. But so yeah, I cut everybody out, and I just went straight to a lab that extracts, and they're scientists. They don't sell anything else, and they're really great.
Well, yeah, you take the blame of what happened, but you took the moral high ground because you could have just sold it and made money. But at the end of the day, that could have cost somebody their job. Their livelihood could have cost them their family.
Yeah.
So, hats off to you being an honest business person, knowing that you would want to be on the other end of something like that.
Right.
That's probably okay. We can't, when you're dealing with livelihoods and lives, we don't, we don't take the shortcut, whether we're running an emergency call or running a business.
That's right.
So, hats off to you for taking the high ground. You still, I'm still, I'm sure you still made some connections while you were at FDIC. You just didn't have the product to sell.
Always.
Um,
Yeah. I love
and
going there.
it's a huge networking place. And you know, say wait till next year when I actually have the product, you'll see. But
Yeah, it was
no,
nerve wracking, man. I didn't know how people were going to take that news.
but well, to the honest, the honest road, of like, hey, I have a lot of product here, but we just got the lab results, and it's tainted. It has small, micro infinitesimal amounts of THC, but it still has THC, and that doesn't live up to what I said, which is 0.00%.
Yeah.
So, again, hats off to you. That's the way it should be. Honest. I'm not going
Yeah.
to do that to somebody because you wouldn't want somebody to do that to you.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, man? I was on another podcast. I believe it was Chris Snow's. It was a Rogue Tailboard podcast, and this was over a year before. And he asked me a question. He's like, "What happens if like THC were to come up in your product?" And I was like, "Oh, I would just throw it all away." I was like, "Yeah, I'd trash it and start over." He goes, "You do that? You throw all that away?" I go, "Absolutely, I would." And I don't remember saying that on his podcast. When when this happened, he saw that I posted that on social media, like all this happening, and he actually posted a link to the podcast, and he said, "Man of his word." And I went to it, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's right, I did mention that on his podcast before." So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of funny that it ended up coming to fruition, almost like it was willed into existence. But I hope that if it came over as like, oh man, this guy makes products and sometimes they get THC in it, that people at least understood, I'll stand by my product. And if anything did happen, I don't ever want to have to do a recall. I don't want to be reactive. I would rather say this thing came back bad, toss it. And so yeah, I'm happy the way it turned out. But at the time, it was one of those moments where I was like, I'm I'm in a I'm in a rough place, but it's all good.
But and 100%, a man of your word. You stand by your product. You didn't just send it out there and go, oh, now I got to recall that. It's like, hey, I'm looking at this product before it even goes out the door. And if one thing comes up, or one test comes up with THC, the whole lot goes out. So
Yeah,
yeah, you're losing a little bit of money, probably a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it should let people know that your product, you stand behind your product 100%,
yeah,
and you are not going to let anything tainted come out of your business into the hands of firefighters, first responders, nurses, things like that. So, again, that is the integrity that people should be, and hopefully are seeing and looking for when they buy a product. Not only do you stand by your product, but you wouldn't put that product out there if it has the potential, if there's even a question. So again,
yeah,
a man of your word, and you put your money where your mouth is, because you said it, a year prior. But
yeah,
hey,
yeah,
good for you.
yeah.
So obviously you're going with another lab now, and you haven't had any issues like that. Um, so most states, including where I am in Maryland, they've legalized or decriminalized marijuana. I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, to each their own, but man, don't stop smoking on the street. God damn it, it stinks.
Treat it like alcohol, like you can't drink alcohol in the street.
Right, but so I mean, I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be, but your product offers some benefits. So let's get into the benefits of what you're finding. Obviously, it's helping with the sleep, and you've got several different products that are out there. Let's talk about some of the benefits that they can that the if somebody's interested in buying this and using this product, what can it be used for?
The biggest things is, besides sleep, is inflammation and your mood. Uh, CBD is a potent anti-inflammatory, way more. In fact, THC really isn't an anti-inflammatory. CBD is, and it works the same way that the steroid prednisone works. It's the same path of action, except it doesn't have all the side effects of prednisone, which is really great. Uh, so if you think about how when people have arthritis, they need that reduction in inflammation to stop their joints from hurting. That's where CBD comes in very well. And then with mood, it increases the overall amount of serotonin in your body, your feel good hormone. So a lot of people take it to reduce anxiety, which comes in really important, before bed, because you wanted to take that and turn the brain off and stop thinking about, that one time, freaking third grade, you said something stupid, or your anxiety about the hole in the roof or whatever the hell is going on. And it just helped quiet the mind a little bit.
They call that ruminating.
Ruminating, exactly. It does stop that. So the part of your brain that deals with fear and anxiety and rumination has receptors for CBD. And when it's active, it can increase serotonin and decrease cortisol. Cortisol is like your go hormone, that's what's supposed to keep you feeling awake throughout the day. And it's supposed to taper off at night. When we screw up our circadian rhythm, whether it's shift or whether it's chronic stress, cortisol gets all out of whack. So the reduction in cortisol, the increase in serotonin, pretty awesome. And then actually it reduces your body temperature a little bit, slightly. So it puts your body into a slightly colder state for sleep. With all of that, I mean, there's a lot of other research out there of things that they're trying to figure out how it works. It has other added benefits like stuff like bone density and it, potentially having reduction in cancer cells and things like that. But we don't know enough about that yet. The most commonly researched stuff is actually about seizures, and it's actually a FDA regulated medication for seizures, but that doesn't really do anything for our people. It's really just those big three: the sleep, the mood, what I call mood, but it's anxiety or anything like that, and then your inflammation. And inflammation is not just I sprained my ankle. It's chronic inflammation, like from hypervigilance from being up all night. It's a constant strain of stress when you get home and your mood changes because you have a lack of sleep. It's that state that people end up getting autoimmune diseases from. Chronic inflammation is a killer. I mean, it's related to almost every major cause of death in the United States, and keeping chronic inflammation low is almost impossible for us because it basically means we have to quit the fire service. You have to have low stress. You have to have optimized sleep consistently every night. You have to eat perfectly. We can all eat perfectly if we try hard enough, but those other two they're just what we signed up for, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. I know what I signed up for, and I like working at a busy house. I want to go back to it, but I just want to take care of myself when I'm off duty, and when I can.
So we talk about let's talk about some of the products that you have. Now you have a whole array of products that. Well, let's just talk about the products that you have. We'll just go down the list and what some of the flavors are different than some of the other flavors, and then
Yeah.
what you can expect from the different things, all the way down to, I guess, the newest thing. I'm assuming that out of service is the newest product that you have.
Yes.
So let's start at the top and we'll work down like we're looking at your website.
Our topical is a local pain reliever. I mean, self-explanatory. We're really proud of the ingredients of that. It's basically aloe vera gel that has that's like the base. So it has that like very absorbent layer to it, and we add CBD into it so that it has about 160 milligrams per ounce, which is awesome. And then we put in capsicum oleo resin, which is basically pepper spray. Like you're
Not the Carolina Reapers, like
Carolina.
I said.
Hey man, it is. Carolina Reapers is a capsicum annum plant, and
It is.
they squeeze the oil out of that, and I think mostly they use cayenne.
Right.
But yeah, it's friggin' Carolina Reaper. They
Right.
squeeze the oil out of it, and then it's capsicum oleo. So we put the oil of that in there. That gives it that really really hot feeling. And then we also have menthol in there to give it that cold feeling. So those are the big three parts of that are very powerful. And we tried to keep it as natural as possible, so we don't put a lot of crap in there. It's mostly just natural products.
So
Uh,
it's more like a gel
it's a
that
gel.
you just put right on
Hmm.
the area that the arthritis, whatever. Obviously, it's
Yeah,
for the inflammation, for the stiffness of the joints and things like
exactly.
that. And then what kind of time frame are you looking for pain relief on that? What's the typical time that it lasts?
Oh man, the onset is immediate, and people do not believe me when I say that. So, like at FDIC, that's what I give because CBD oil can take days for you to notice a difference. But the topical, I'm like, just don't even you don't have to believe me. You don't have to listen to a word I say about the sales pitch or whatever, man. I'm like, just take this, put it on, and I'll see you in like 10 minutes. And people walk around and they come back. And last year we sold out completely um, within like the second day, and then we took back orders for 2 days after that, and yeah, it was nuts.
Now
The
I can tell you, full disclosure, my boy RJ, he came and you gave him the
Yeah,
little sample and he put it on and I kept asking, "Is it working? Is it working?" It's you can feel it and this and that,
yeah,
and literally I just talked to him. We were talking about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I said, "Hey," I said, "So whatever happened with the CBD uh, lotion that you'd put on, you were using on your leg?" And he said, "I didn't really think it was working." He said, "Until I ran out." He said, then when I ran out, he said, "Man, I noticed the swelling came back. There was stiffness and all that." So,
right.
um, from his mouth, it definitely worked. It relieved the pain, and like we talked on offline, he had a pretty devastating injury, and
Yeah, yeah,
he felt some comfort walking around using your product.
yeah, yeah. That the topical pain reliever is the quickest acting. Um, the cooling effect only lasts like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. It's just enough to like kind of get you through. The heating will last hours and hours and hours, but it only pops up if you start opening up your pores because that oil sits on your skin. It's funny, you don't feel it, but it's on there. Anybody who's eaten a really really hot pepper knows if you touch your face without washing your hands really good, you're gonna feel it later. Like if that oil is the same oil, and so if you I put that stuff on and I'll work out, especially if I'm working out of my gear, and my foot will heat up, and that's the stuff going in there. It feels good, but it's really really noticeable, and that can be 8-10 hours later. You'll still feel it. So that's kind of the longer story. Our other products, we have a daytime and a nighttime. Basically, is the way I say it. The daytime is 1,000 milligrams of CBD in a tincture, and it's 33 milligrams per dropper. That's what people take for inflammation reduction daily or for their mood. The reason we chose that is because 25 milligrams is kind of like the base that you need for anxiety. Um, for inflammation, it's not that clear, but it's not a lot of CBD that you need. Um, so they cover both the bases. It covers both the bases for that.
So let's talk about inflammation with the
Yeah,
tincture. Now, what kind of inflammation are you talking about?
chronic inflammation, more so what they call reactive oxidative species, a reactive oxidative species. So it's ROS if you Google it, but that is the inflammation that is um, over oxidation. We eat food and react to stressors and get hit with freaking radiation and stuff, and it creates oxidation in our bodies. And we need a antioxidant to balance that out. Well, if you don't get enough antioxidants. Instead of it being balanced, the counterbalance or being off balance is out of homeostasis. That is chronic inflammation. That is oxidation. So it's a type of inflammation that happens where it's constant on a cellular level, not the swelling to your elbow after you injure it.
Right.
This is an inflammation that you can't feel unless you have an autoimmune disorder where it starts to affect your joints, like rheumatoid arthritis. That is an autoimmune.
Gotcha.
That is a state
Okay.
of chronic inflammation that can manifest in like joint pain. So The answer to that is to balance that oxidation out. Well, CBD does that, and in addition to being an anti-inflammatory, it works slightly like a weak antioxidant too. So um, the the all the science and the nomenclature behind it is like it's very very in depth. And I'm not a doctor. Also, disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice, but
Right.
the interesting things behind it are just that, where they find out, hey man, this stuff works just like prednisone. This is crazy. Um, so people take it for that. They want, especially if they have autoimmune disorders where they're constantly inflamed and they have to be very, very careful about what they eat and getting their proper sleep and things like that. But then also like things like arthritis where they are in a state of constant inflammation as well, and they need that suppression of inflammation daily. So it's either that or like anybody who's had to take Advil or Tylenol long term knows it's not nice to your organs. So it's a nice alternative, even though we're not supposed to say it's an alternative to those things. The FDA does not like that. It's the act of anti-inflammation is there.
And what you're hearing from your customers attests to what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
you don't have to say it's something that is in place of, but your customers are telling you
yeah,
the things that you already know.
yeah, yeah. That's
So
a good way to put it.
for mood enhancement, the inflammation at the cellular level, and then sleep with that as well, like the improved type of sleep is to get you back to normal. I should say.
Yeah, REM sleep is a crazy thing. REM and non-REM. You're supposed to go through several cycles of REM and non-REM sleep throughout the night, and it usually takes people 7 to 9 hours. We have to understand what's causing this. So just in the same way where when we were talking, Chief, earlier, where I was like, hey, we're not supposed to take medication to fix a problem that was caused by medication. We need to get to the root cause. I don't want guys and girls out there to think CBD is like the magic bullet. um, it's not a quick fix. Please, you still got to take care of yourself. You still got to eat right. You still got to do all the other good stuff. But with sleep, we can't escape calls after midnight. That's just that's part of the job. It's what we signed up for. And the issue is when we do that, we put ourselves into a state of imbalance. There is no way to correct the hormones that we screw up except by getting perfect sleep. Which, when you read all the stuff about correcting your sleep, it takes more than our 48 hours off to fix that stuff. So you ain't gonna catch it. You're gonna be chasing your tail for your whole career, and that's fine. Again, it's what we signed up for. But we have this thing now that we know corrects those hormones. And without getting too deep into the science, there's one point I always have to make, and it's this: the hormones in your brain that set the circadian rhythm, your master clock in your brain. There's an area of your brain called the SCN, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. The parts of that brain are calibrated by cannabinoids, specifically the cannabinoid that gets released from CBD. So we have this area of your brain that we've tied to CBD in the endocannabinoid system, the thing that makes your daytime daytime and your nighttime nighttime. And that's the part of your brain that gets screwed up when you run calls after midnight. We have this thing, CBD, that resets that. Um, the other option is getting perfect sleep forever and ever. Basically quit the fire service. So, I
You're still
mean,
not going to get perfect sleep, even if you're not in the fire department. It just
amen.
doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
of course. And perfect sleep is an illusion. You're never going to get perfect sleep, but you're not going to correct this really bad circadian rhythm that we have on the job any other way. So while I don't say CBD is like this magic bullet, it is. We are going to continue to put ourselves in that unnatural imbalanced state by running calls after midnight, and we have this thing that can help with it. That's my point. Is that because I've talked to doctors about this, and even at the IFF level, um, not people in the IFF, but people that work with the IFF, and they've said they're like, you can't just give this stuff out and say this is to fix your sleep. You have to understand why your sleep is screwed up in the first place. I'm like, We do know. Doc, with all due respect, we can't stop that part. That's what we signed up for. So I'm trying to say, at some point in your career, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. At some point in our career, we're going to have shitty sleep because we're doing the job, and it might be 5 years, it might be 25 years, but it's going to happen. And your options to correct it are very limited. And I just want to help. That's so with those things that I said that our sleep formula does. It is it is supposed to be there for exactly that, to try to
Right.
correct that tipped scale in the proper direction.
So with the product, with the tincture, you have multiple types, or I guess flavors or whatever you want to call it, that have it's the same uh, medicine, or it's the same. I don't want to say medicine. It's the same milligrams, but just different flavors. Correct?
Yeah, the daytime is the same milligrams. It's just
Okay.
we have an unflavored, a lemon, and a mint, and the lemon and the mint are flavored, and so is our. Uh, yeah, the lemon and the mint are flavored with terpenes, so it's not an artificial flavor. It's actually terpenes are they give plants their smell and flavor, and so we flavor them naturally. Now the terpenes that are in that don't make you feel tired or anything, so they're daytime. The out of service is double the amount. Our nighttime formula is double the amount of our daytime formula. So instead of 1,000 milligrams in the bottle, the sleep formula is 2,000 milligrams in the bottle, and we added in those terpenes that actually make you feel tired. The biggest one being one called myrcene. So it's a mild, feels like a mild sedative. That's why we tell you don't take it on shift. A lot of people might feel groggy, and you don't want to, you know, take that and have to run calls. So
Exactly.
that's the name out of service is there for a reason.
Right. So going back to the 1,000 milligrams with the flavored ones, now it'll still help you with your sleep, correct? Even though it's 1,000 milligrams.
Yes, the dose in that is 33 milligrams, and 25 milligrams is also the minimum dose for sleep. If you take less than 25 milligrams of CBD, it actually is bad for your sleep, which is crazy to me, but it has this mild stimulating effect. I'm sure everyone has a story or knows someone who says, marijuana makes them feel like certain strains make them feel energized, but they feel like they go and clean the whole house. It doesn't like give them that couch lock feeling. That's certain strains that have high CBD content, and it's probably
Mhm.
less than 25 milligrams in there. But they've proven this in humans and animals that small amounts of CBD can cause an alert feeling. So what ends up happening, Chief, is like people will start to take that CBD, and over time you need more. You build up a tolerance. Usually it takes months, but they started doubling the dose. So this bottle that was 1,000 milligrams, there's 30 servings in it, starts running out in a couple of weeks, and we are like, man, this kind of sucks. Um, we should make this more cost effective. So we made a bottle that has double the dose in there, so people didn't have to take two; they can only take one. So yes, it does help you with your sleep, the 1,000 milligram, because it's above that minimum milligram for sleep. But after a little while, people want to take two droppers, and it ends up not being cost effective. So if you're starting out, yeah, the 1,000 milligrams fine. But for people that have been using it for a little while, the out of service is just more cost effective for a higher dose because it's double the dose and it's only $10 more.
Right. The and so and I want to make sure that people understand that if you're starting out, to improve your mood a little bit, uh, help regulate your sleep, as well as that you talked about that inflammation, the benefits that you're going to get from that. You don't have to go right out and say, "Oh crap, I'm going to just go out and buy the out of service stuff because of whatever."
Mm-hmm.
If there's apprehension, start small and then go from there.
Great point.
Um, the other thing I want to make sure that people understand is that with this, if you're taking medications, I still want to make sure people understand you need to make sure you talk to your doctor,
Yes,
let
sir.
them know, and that's with any supplement that you're taking. If you're already taking medications that are prescribed to you by your physician, tell your physician that, you're thinking about this, making sure that there's no contraindications. And that's the smart thing to do. But that's with anything. If you're going to take vitamins or things like that, you should talk to your doctor before you jump into this. But the biggest takeaway is that you stand behind your product, and that you scrutinize it, you test it, you make sure that before any batch goes out, it has 0% THC. So while we're winding down here, we got about 5 to 10 minutes left. I want to talk a little bit about where we are now in the fire service. And I know you're getting results because you have a lot of faithful customers, and I know that you've got you got your little chart behind you. I know you're trying to get to a certain number of people on Instagram. We'll finish up with the social media here, but you had an interview with the with one of the fellows from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is actually allowed, or they're not testing anymore, I guess, for THC. And most of the people listening to that thinking that's just crazy because it's difficult to figure out. Well, did they just do marijuana in the parking lot before they're coming on shift, or did they do it 10 days ago? What was Pittsburgh's decision to go that route, and how is that being received by their local, by the union?
It was a very interesting conversation, and if you ever get a chance to talk to Sean O'Leary from Pittsburgh Local One, he's just a good fire officer, just in general, and a really good guy. But he is very intelligent, and he has a lot of insight in that. But straight to the point, they didn't get it in their contract. They made an MOU with the city, so which I think is an interesting way to do it, because an MOU can get pulled at any time. They don't need to go to negotiation. So if you're a union department or not, they have it. Everybody has MOUs, and you can go to this and say, you can go to the city, and they wrote in the clause, if we do anything that would cause the city to lose federal grant money, you guys can pull the plug whenever you want, to give the city that kind of confidence, which I thought was interesting. But it was kind of right place, right time as well. This happened in 2018. And so they've had it for a good amount of time, 6 years, coming up in October. And they had a mayor that was fine with it. They had the union membership that was supporting it, because a few of their veteran members had been recommend to use it for PTSD from combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. And them and their doctors were kind of pushing the city to say, hey, this is medicine for these guys. We're not asking you to let them use it recreationally. That was the delineation. Like, this isn't a toy. It's not it's not, we don't, they try to get their guys to not smoke it at all. They're like, please ingest gummies so you don't have to,
Right.
tarnish your lungs,
Edibles.
which I'm a huge proponent of. I'm like, you guys have to do this. But even CBD, don't vape and smoke stuff. There's only supposed to be air in our lungs. Like, you're not supposed to have anything else in there. But hey, everybody, alcohol's bad for you too. And I like a drink every once in a while, so I get it. But,
right.
It was received well, and they've had zero problems. There's been no discipline for intoxication on duty. Their overall workers' comp, insurance claims, sick time usage all went down, and they've had no accidents with it either in 6 years. So wow. Partly because I think they know the whole country is looking at them. They are the pioneers of it, and I think they take it really, really seriously. So that is part of it. But I know sometimes we are our own worst enemy with things. We always try to, push it too far. We always try to, bend the rules, and we always try to do dumb stuff. So I was certain I was going to hear some kind of horror story, but I've heard these guys speak about this multiple times, and that's everybody's question. And it's been received well, and it's going very well.
Great. So, and looking at, wanted to finish up with your social media and your footprint there, and some of the stumbling blocks that you're running into. When I first heard about what was going on, it kind of pissed me off. I
appreciate that.
I don't understand what social media platforms are trying to do when you can just see the absolute shit dregs of society plastered all over social media, and we're fine with that. But I don't understand why they targeted in on this, and to just kind of stunt your growth through the social media. I'm curious to hear what their explanation was, because I'm sure they told you something.
They gave me a notification on it as a business account on my Instagram, and they had said, hey, these posts violate our terms of service, our guidelines, community guidelines policies. So please remove them. And they gave me 6 posts. Well, when I took them down, 24 hours later, 6 more were up. And honestly, when I took the first 6 down, I didn't even look at what the community guidelines were. I just saw like one of them was about THC, and I said, okay, well, they think I'm trying to sell weed on their website or something. So I took them down and was making a sacrifice to the algorithm gods, if you will. And then, it didn't work. They picked 6 more. Well, when I read through the guidelines that they said I was violating, one of them, the thing that it said I was violating was speaking about cannabis usage, and basically said, stop speaking about cannabis usage. And they flagged all my CBD content as cannabis usage. So filing an appeal didn't work. And they said, hey, look, we're not going to suspend or ban your account yet. But we are going to, what they call, suppress your account. So your account can't be shown to anyone who's not following you. So, I mean, it's even to the point where on my personal account, like if I search, I don't follow my own page because Instagram does not like that. But when I would search for Rescue on CBD, I don't even show up in the bar, like as recommended, until I type the full name out and then actually hit the search button. Normally if you start typing in Joe Rogan, or like Varsity Truckies, you start typing it in. When you hit VAR, you'll see Varsity Truck, like it'll pop up.
Gotcha.
And mine doesn't show up at all. And
Mm.
that is the act of suppression from Instagram. And they were very clear that they were doing it. They weren't shy about it, but they said, yeah, it's just cannabis usage. It is very difficult to get followers, and I'm trying to get the name out there. I would say about 60% of the business that we do and the exposure we get is from Instagram. So it's really hard to, we're looking at other stuff too. Like I have a TikTok, but my time is so limited. And I'm still a full-time firefighter, even though I work in admin, but I still work every day, and I have to work on the business when I get home. So I got to pick and choose, man. I got to pick my battles. I'm just trying to keep do a little bit of everything. But honestly, we've had so many headaches. It's just another one. It's not like crippling or anything. It's kind of like I still go about my day.
I understand your fiance is pretty savvy with websites. How about social media and developing
Nope,
things like that?
nope,
No,
not that one. Yeah, I
no.
don't know. She's way smarter
It,
than I am, but I don't think I don't think she can help with that one.
my daughter has a pretty big footprint on TikTok, which blows me away. Just doing
That's that generation, man.
yeah, she does cosplay and things like that. And, 18,000 followers. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Jeez,
I don't even have 1,000
I wish.
followers, but she's
Yeah,
tapping
I
into that
wish.
stuff, and she wants to go to college to do digital marketing. Hey, more power to you. But so
Awesome,
yeah,
awesome.
so we're going to end this up. I want people to understand. If you're watching this, when you watch it on YouTube, if you're listening to it on any of your podcast platforms, go to Rescue One CBD and like the page, follow the page, um, go to the website and read the testimonials, look at the product that they have. There's a lot of good stuff on the blog that's part of that web page as well. Get to know this stuff, because our community suffers on so many different levels, whether it's mental health, lack of sleep, poor diet, um, uh, PTSD from the calls that we run, the things that we see. We are responsible to put everything back together when 911's called. So we see a lot of stuff. Our lives get turned upside down from that one call, and there's people that may never recover from that one call. Every little thing helps. I know your product helps because I've talked to people that use it. Their sleep rhythms have gotten better. Inflammation from the topical ointment has gotten better. One of my good friends has used it and says that it works. You are an honest business person, you would not put anything out there that is going to harm any of your customers, let alone any of the firefighters, police officers, nurses, anything like that. Because your reputation as a firefighter, our reputation is everything.
Right.
And the
Right.
last thing that we're going to do is damage our reputation. And as a businessman, you take the moral high ground. If your product is tainted, you throw it out. You're standing behind your product to the point where you're putting a urine test in your each box that somebody buys, so they know that the product that they're using stands behind the 0.000% THC free. So get out there, Rescue One CBD, like the page, follow the page, look at their website, give your website information so everybody knows what it is.
Yeah,
What's your
rescue1cbd.com. It's one with the number one. And then, I'm always available on, a lot of times it's me answering on Instagram, but, my sister and a couple of our guys also work on the business too. So, but if you have a question, just the fastest way is just DM us on Instagram. You can follow us there, and we get right back to you. We answer all kinds of questions. So I'd be happy to help with anything specific, or if you just want to give us a shout and talk shop, I'm happy to.
And I'll put a link in on the YouTube page
Cool.
in the description for all your social media for your webpage, and I'll put that in the little show synopsis for Apple for the Apple Podcast and Spotify, so people can find you. So Jon, thanks for coming on, and very educational. Like I said, there's very little bit that I knew about it just by the talking to you at FDIC, as well as what's on your website and things like that. It's very informative, and I think that we're just kind of scratching the surface of where this is going to go for emergency services and how it's going to help. We know that it's helping PTSD for soldiers, and we suffer from PTSD as well in emergency services, nurses, doctors, the things that we see, we're only human. So I think we're just scratching the surface. So kudos to you for researching this, recognizing that, if I can benefit from it, other people can benefit from it. And if you're out at FDIC, he's going to be on Firefighters Row, which is like the best place to be. If you're walking down there, I think he'll sit there and make a cup of coffee for you. I think that's what you were doing
Oh
for
yeah.
everybody. You were brewing
Oh yeah.
coffee for
Come
people,
by.
and answer any question that you have. With that, Jon, thanks for coming on the show. I truly appreciate it. And we'll keep in touch, and I'll see you in April.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself.
Likewise.